closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Sponsored by Krantz Heating and Cooling on the Game Network and on 107.5 The Game app.
And welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Club Hour presented by Krantz Cooling Heating. Tyler and Chris along with you here on your Thursday on the Game. Appreciate Gabe Dierman again from PowerMizzou.com for taking a little bit of his time where they're feeling pretty good about their men's basketball program right now as they get set to embark on their second NCAA tournament in 3 years. Just going to ignore what happened last year in that 0-18. No big deal there. Yeah, they certainly got the ship righted. And again, we're going to be bringing up Missouri and Dennis Gates a lot this offseason as, again, kind of that blueprint of what you hope Coach Paris can do here of acquiring the right talent, and maybe changing his philosophy a little bit. Because, and I'm sure NIL did play a part in this, as Gabe kind of mentioned as well, but, how much of it is, well, I have a system, and I can put anybody in and make it work? Because let's be honest here. Talon Cooper and B.J. Mack probably weren't commanding the highest amount of NIL dollars coming out of the portal a year ago, but they came in here, went into the system, and it worked perfectly and got him to the NCAA tournament, had a historic season, the whole 9 yards. So, and again, Coach Pierce has only been a head coach for a handful of years, going back to his time at UT Chattanooga. Was there this belief that, hey, anybody can work in this system? And is maybe this year the realization of, oh, wait, maybe I need to kind of change some things philosophically going into next season? We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to it. I mean, in a complex game, you can simplify it like Gabe did there, which I agree. And at the end of the day, it's normally the teams that have the best players win, right? But how do you get there? And like I was thinking about this last night. You look at Auburn. This has been a historically strong SEC basketball year, and Auburn is 14-1.
Yep.
They have gobs of talent. They're also super old. Their roster is as old as, I think, the Thunder in the NBA. I saw that graphic the other day.
Yep.
And Bruce Pearl, I mean, I don't really, you may say I don't like Bruce Pearl. That's totally fine. He is he's proven that he can win basketball games. You may say, well, that's because he just gets a lot of talent. Well, okay. Do you want to win or not? And some people may say, I don't want to win like that. That's fine. My point is
you don't until you actually start winning.
Yeah, they have results, right? And last year, South Carolina had great results. And the guys you met, it was all of it. It was, I think the staff did a really good job assembling that roster, coaching that roster, that a lot of talent. You lost some key pieces. Matt Cooper, Michi Johnson left for Ohio State. And I think those guys are all in their own ways going to be hard to replace. So you look at what happened this offseason, I think there's just a lot there. The guys you brought in, did you bring in enough? The guys that you have on the roster, one of the things is you had guys on last season's team playing certain roles to where now they're being counted on to play a different role, maybe an increased role. So what does that fit? Are they better suited to play a different role? So, yeah, and then there's maybe philosophical questions about how you're going to handle a locker room, how you're going to handle NIL, your system, roster building. All those conversations, I'm very confident, have been happening. I think if you're kind of picking one this offseason, I think, and Jeremiah Donati talked about this with Jay and Elijah when he came on, sitting down and saying, how can we support the men's basketball program? How can we figure out how we're going to go in and have more talent and more depth next year? Mm-hmm. And so I think the roster construction and acquiring more talent, that's going to be, the number one priority this offseason.
Well, and I don't think, any option should be off the table, because when you have the season that you had a year ago, I don't blame you for thinking, hey, what I do works, and we're just going to continue to do it the same way and plug in new faces and expect to have the same results. But again, when you kind of get the dose of reality that the SEC slate's been for Lamont Paris' team this year, again, no option should be off the table. And again, I don't know what happens and what the conversations specifically are in those meetings with Donati, but, going out there and, again, having the right amount of NIL to go out there and get the talent that you need. And, again, kind of breaking things down as we did a little bit earlier in the hour with, with how the revenue share is going to work. Men's basketball, they'll have a couple $1 million, but you're still going to have those NIL funds to supplement the rest. And, you're obviously going to be losing Colin Murray Boyles, which, was probably commanding somewhere in the neighborhood of half of what the, sources say Carolina's NIL funds were. So you're not going to have that next year. So how do you split up whatever you have to go out there and maybe build an entirely new starting five? We were looking at this the other day. With losing what you have, you're going to get Zach Davis back, you expect. Cam Scott, you expect. But are any of those guys going to actually be in your starting five next year? Or is it a whole new cast of characters taking the floor for opening tip against whoever the first team is next year?
I think there are a lot of unanswered questions. And even to go back to CMB, I think it's going to be a difficult keep because he might be like a lottery pick or a first rounder. Am I going to totally shut the door on it? No. I think it's going to be tough. But I don't know if we should make that a definite. But I don't think you need to completely plan on, all right, we're going to construct our roster around him, right? Because I don't know at the end of the day, sitting here right now, are you able to do that? Is that a safe bet?
Expect him to be gone and be pleasantly surprised if he comes back. That's kind of how
you might need to operate that way. The rest of it, I mean, you never know. I mean, you might have ideas on your roster of, hey, we're going to get this guy back and this guy back. Well, there's a transfer portal. What if they decide, I'm not speculating that, but you have to build those things into your mind. And so this offseason is going to be critical to finding out, who's critical to keep around, who's staying, who's leaving, what do you need, and who can you go get?
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. By the way, we'll have some basketball tickets to give away a little bit later on in the 11 o'clock hour. Stay tuned for that as Coach Pierce's team does round out the regular season. Coming next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Let's hear a little bit from Coach Maneri last night as he gets set for his first taste of the South Carolina and Clemson rivalry coming up this weekend on the Baseball Diamond. That's next here on The Game.
107.5 The Game, broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevy Studios. You can save up to $20,000 on new Silverados. Stop by or shop online today and see how Herndon Chevy makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Our friends over at Classic Roofing can help you out with any of your roofing needs, commercial and residential. Taking good care of your roof is challenging. You don't have to do it alone. Joe Reeder, Max Sawyer, the team over at Classic Roofing, classicroofingsc.com. They have been the go-to residential and commercial roofing company for home and business owners around the Midlands for years. They've got quality craftsmanship, got great customer service, just unmatched by the other guys. So go to the website, classicroofingsc.com. You can actually get a free estimate there. They can do inspections, installations, replacements, and repairs. They are GAF certified. And on their website, classicroofingsc.com, you can even build your new roof online virtually using the GAF virtual design tool. Solutions, no nonsense. That's what you get at Classic Roofing. Give them a call. Mac and Joe, 803-590-7870 or classicroofingsc.com.
Griffin Pools and Spas, your authorized Latham and Imperial dealer, is having their biggest sale of the year on all in-ground pools and hot tubs. Come by their location at 1348 North Lake Drive to visit factory reps and save thousands on in-ground pools with huge discounts and incentives on spas. Buy now, save, and enjoy your pool or spa all summer long. Let their family help your family build an outdoor oasis. Come see them February 27th through March 2nd at Griffin Pools and Spas.
Griffin Pools and Spas, we make you feel good.
They say you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. At the Haven Harley-Davidson, we say, why not both? The fact is, you need a new Harley, and we want your old bike. We'll give you top dollar for your trade, especially since demand is through the roof for Sportsters, Softails, Trikes, and touring models. Any make, any model. So trade in and trade up now. Visit thehavenharley.com. We want your bike, and you need your freedom. Get it all at the Haven Harley-Davidson.
Firehouse Subs is excited to introduce for a limited time their delicious French dip sub. This hearty and craveable sub starts with premium roast beef loaded with caramelized onions, melted Swiss and provolone cheese, and topped with Italian seasoning, all on a toasted garlic bread roll and served with hot au jus for dipping. Visit any one of their Columbia locations to try it today, or you can skip the line and download the Firehouse Subs app. Be sure to support the Firehouse Foundation by rounding up your donations to help local fire departments purchase life-saving equipment.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. If you or a loved one are over 65 and haven't completed a long-term care planning consultation, now is the time. Did you know that if you aren't able to afford the high cost of skilled care, your assets can be rapidly depleted to only $2,000 unless you plan 5 years in advance? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina. Serving families in Columbia and the surrounding areas, Lever Repairs is your preferred independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Take advantage of tax credits and rebates of up to $2,400 for total unit replacements. Ready for an exciting new career with great pay? Join the Lever Repairs Incorporated family. Go to lever-repairs-inc.com/careers. Join a family-friendly business. With decades of experience and excellent employee benefits, Lever Repairs is your #1 choice. Call today, 803-333-0737.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes, and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Your home for the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station. The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app.
$11 on your Thursday morning. Welcome in Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West, Chris along with you here, navigating you through the week, inching closer to Rivalry Baseball. South Carolina and Clemson coming up tomorrow night, 7 o'clock here on the game. Pregame coverage starting at 6:45. The game here in Columbia as well as in Myrtle Beach. As we've enjoyed the 9-0 start for Coach Maneri's crew, but ready to see the step up in competition level and really kind of gauge where things are before SEC play gets rolling here in a couple weeks. And obviously want to see them take down the rival from the upstate in the process.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens, guys. And, baseball is such an interesting game. And I think it's fair to, regardless of competition, to be 9-0 is worth applauding. Like you sit there. This is a game, as we know, you can easily have an off night and lose to a team you're not supposed to. So, South Carolina could be, it could be an 8-win team, a 7-win team right now, and still be a pretty good team. So I think it does show some progress in terms of what they are as a team, that they have, not lost a game yet. However, we will learn a lot more about this team starting this week. And, they could play great, and it doesn't necessarily mean everything for the big picture. They could play terrible, and it doesn't necessarily mean everything for the big picture. But it will be our first major data point of what this team looks like against a pretty explosive offense. And, I think this is a Clemson lineup that obviously brings back some guys who have done it at a very high level, but also they were pretty active in the transfer portal and bringing in a few guys who have already started to make big impacts for them as well. So I think, we've all been so impressed with this South Carolina pitching staff and what they've done so far. I'm pretty curious to see how that translates to playing one of the better teams you maybe are going to face potentially even all year offensively. We'll find out if that remains the case. But also, this is not necessarily the easiest setup for you. You go to Clemson to start out. Then you're in Greenville, which, there'll be some Garnet in the stands, but it, is far from a home game for you. And so you don't get to come home until that Sunday. So I think when it's set up like this, when it's structured like this, can you find a way to get back to Columbia with the series 1-1? I think that's a pretty fair, attainable goal for the first 2 games of this series. And then, of course, you want to take care of business at home.
Then you do have a tweak in the pitching rotation for South Carolina. Maneri shuffling, some things around there with Eskew's going to go on, Sunday now, which he feels fine, so that's great. But Clemson's 7-1, and like you said, Wes, they've put up some numbers offensively this season. They're in somewhat of a similar boat to South Carolina in that they, of course, have not gotten anywhere close to the meat of their schedule. This is going to be the biggest series test for both of these teams so far. Clemson did drop 1 game this year. They're 7-1. Their 1 loss was to Ole Miss, 15-5, run rule game. But Clemson scored, 16 runs in a game, 12 runs in a game. Their most recent competition on Tuesday night, they beat Winthrop 20-7. So, like you said, some explosiveness in the batting lineup for the Tigers this year.
Yeah, and much like South Carolina, I believe they hit 4 home runs in that game the other night. So as the weather's warming up, their offense obviously coming along with hitting the ball a little bit deeper as well. But as we've heard from Maneri already, coming off the game against Gardner-Webb, that he understands the importance of this game, but is not saying it's end-all be-all when it comes to everything going on this season. And yesterday, in talking to the media, he kind of reiterated that point once again on there's more importance elsewhere in addition to what's going to happen this weekend too.
I preach to our players all the time that every game is important, and every practice is important. You can't just go through the motions in practice or go through the motions in a non-conference game and then expect to be able to play well in the big games. You have to approach every game that it's really important. Every practice is really important. And the reason I tell them that is because then when the big games roll around, you don't have to try harder than you do every day and do things unnaturally. Just play the game the way you know how to play it. Let the fans and the media and everybody else make a really big deal out of it. But for you as the player, you can't try to hit the ball harder or throw it faster or run faster or, do those kinds of things, because then it gets you out of your game. But the truth of the matter is there's going to be a little extra pumping of the heart. The blood's going to be flowing and everybody will be excited. I'm going to be excited. Look, I've coached a lot of games in my life and a lot of big games in and out of the SEC, Omaha, and as super regional championship games and everything. I'm as excited as I've ever been about baseball games as I am this weekend. And I'm not afraid of it, and our players aren't afraid of it. They're embracing it. They're looking forward to it.
And again, the fan base, we put an extra importance on this game because of who the opponent is. But as Mary said there, go out there and execute the way you've been doing through these first 9 games and limit mistakes and get on base, move runners around, pitch well, and hopefully walk out with at least 2 wins this weekend and continue on and go into SEC play. So again, the series itself takes on a bigger importance to everybody. But at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to execution like every other game does.
You got to love, though, as we've started to get to know Paul Maneri a little bit. And when I say get to know, I don't even mean like personally sitting down with him, just kind of listening to the way he operates, the way he thinks. You've got to love this sort of just confidence that he portrays, in everything he does. Like that little comment about, I'm not afraid of it. That was just kind of in passing, but I think tells you how he thinks about things and probably how he maybe expresses things to his coaches or to his players. And there was, I thought, a pretty cool clip going around from Gamecocks Plus like last week, kind of talking about the season really getting going. And Maneri saying, I've kind of enjoying being the underdog for once. Then he says, just in passing, it won't last long.
Yeah.
Like there's kind of an innate confidence there where it's not forced. It's not what I call false confidence, where some people, express that to try to basically convince themselves. It is kind of, I would say, present in everything he does.
Well, let's think about it from the standpoint of, let's say you were able to get 2 of 3, or maybe even, hey, let's say you sweep the weekend against Clemson, who is a ranked team and thought to be one of the best teams in college baseball. You're talking about having 11, 12 wins, something along those lines, probably getting yourself ranked in the top 25, before SEC play even starts, and would drastically shift what I think a lot of people would think about this program, who, again, we looked at all the preseason rankings and expectations down towards the bottom of the SEC, and can Paul Mainieri coach in this era of college baseball? Winning this weekend would shift a lot of people's perception before SEC play even starts. So, and he understands that. He knows, and I'm not saying that's the end-all, be-all of what this team's going to be, but a lot of the narrative of this team is not riding on this weekend, but can take a turn depending on how it goes.
Yeah, and I think, you start looking at this top 25, it's going to be littered with SEC teams throughout the year. We all know that, and there's going to be a lot of, I would say, adjustment throughout the season in terms of what order those teams are in. But this I think, is probably your first real opportunity to start to make a little bit of noise on a national level. You look at, the D1 baseball guys, which I think are probably some of, if not the best, in terms of just covering college baseball nationally. You're going to start to get some recognition if you win this weekend. And, if you don't play well in SEC play, it really won't mean much of anything. But, once you start getting towards the end of the year, this is probably one of those data points that if you are, let's say, on the verge of making the tournament, let's take it a step farther. Maybe you're on the verge of hosting or not hosting. Maybe you're on the verge of being a top 8 national seed. This could be something you're pointing back to, saying, on one side, hey, we took 2 of 3 from Clemson, or on the other side, hey, Clemson took 2 of 3 from South Carolina. Whoever wins this series, not the end-all, be-all by any means, but it does go beyond, I would say, just the fact that it's a rivalry game, just the emotional connection people in this state are going to have to this game, because, yeah, it's like playing an SEC sort of, I would say, list things out and to compare teams, and you're all playing in the same conference. But getting an out-of-conference data point to go your way or go against you, I think against a top 25 team, certainly in Clemson, could go a long way down the line.
Yeah, I think Clemson, preseason, we know the preseason rankings. I mean, they are what they are. It's based on a lot of, what happened last season, how'd you finish, kind of, what do you have coming back? I do agree with you, Wes, that a lot of the people that do rankings, they're probably more plugged in from a baseball standpoint than the football top 25, the AP top 25. That is really just, your quarterback's coming back, and, you went 9-3 last year. We'll put you in the, top 10 or whatever. Baseball, I feel like, is a little bit more dialed into it, but nobody's played any games yet at that point when you do those rankings. And so, Clemson being top 15, that may end up being very fair. South Carolina being outside of the top 25 might end up being very unfair. It may not be an accurate depiction. That's why you go play the game. So, I mean, it does look like both of these teams are probably going to be pretty good ball clubs this year. They're both going to face really good competition. That's going to start, obviously, this weekend. So, a lot of reasons you want to go win this series. And I do agree with Mainieri. If the series doesn't go your way, you don't fold up your tent. This is a long season, but you want to go win, because every win, especially when you're staring down the barrel of an SEC schedule that, you can go make the NCAA tournament easily with a losing record in conference, right? Mm-hmm. Every game is just so important. And so, like you said, Wes, having that out-of-conference, series win would be significant, and especially having it against a team that's good, probably going to stay, I would guess, as a top 25 team all season, and a rival to boot. So you got that emotional aspect.
Game winner number 1 tomorrow night on the road in Clemson. 7 o'clock first pitch. Pregame coverage starting 6:45 on the game here in Columbia, as well as 100.3 the game out in Myrtle Beach. Andy Staples of On3 has put out a handy guide on whether you should give your football or basketball coach more money. Does Carolina show up on this list? And let's follow the steps and see where we go. That's coming up next. It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Thursday on The Game.
107.5 The Game in Columbia, 100.5 The Game in Florence, and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Here's what's on tap on The Game. Sponsored by Columbia Craft, Green Street in the Vista. Craft beer famously hopped. Thursday, the 6th-ranked Gamecock women take on Ole Miss. 8:30 p.m. pregame on 98.5 OMG. That's what's on tap on The Game. Sponsored by Columbia Craft. 107.5 The Game, broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevy Studios. You can save up to $20,000 on new Silverados. Stop by or shop online today and see how Herndon Chevy makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out.
Honey!
What's wrong? I thought you already left for work.
The garage door is broken. It won't open and I can't get my car out. I can't miss this meeting today. Everyone is coming in for it.
Relax. I'm texting OGD right now.
What is OGD?
OGD, Overhead Garage Door. They're the garage door experts in Columbia. Take my car in the driveway and OGD will handle the garage. They have same-day service and they'll get the garage door fixed today. Fast and easy.
Wait, with just one text you can get our garage door fixed same day by OGD?
Yes. OGD will get it done no problem. Now, you need to get to work and let OGD worry about the garage door.
Garage door broken, stuck, slow, or squeaky? Text OGD, the only name you need for your garage door. Text TIGHT to 200-300 right now. Text right now and get an exclusive link to special limited time savings. Don't wait. Text the word TIGHT to 200-300 now. Text TIGHT to 200-300.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
The best selection of new Chevys. Right now. No hassle, no ridiculous add-on stickers. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Griffin Pools and Spas, your authorized Latham and Imperial dealer, is having their biggest sale of the year on all in-ground pools and hot tubs. Come by their location at 1348 North Lake Drive to visit factory reps and save thousands on in-ground pools with huge discounts and incentives on spas. Buy now, save, and enjoy your pool or spa all summer long. Let their family help your family build an outdoor oasis. Come see them February 27th through March 2nd at Griffin Pools and Spas.
Griffin Pools and Spas. We make you feel good.
It's a new year, Columbia, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Jean did. She called Rhino Shield.
So the house was built in 1952. We had Rhino Shield out about a year and a half ago to paint our house from gray to white.
Remember, Rhino Shield's not paint. It's better.
My husband had to talk to me a little bit about Rhino Shield because it's something we want to do, but it was a 25-year guarantee. I just didn't know how we could go wrong.
Columbia, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield now for 15% off the regular price.
We have 3 different exteriors to our property, and Rhino Shield painted them all. We were very pleased with the product and the job they did.
Here's owner Dan Hoey.
This offer's limited, so call today at 833-RHINO-99 or visit RhinoShieldCarolina.com. Don't paint.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
No paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Serving families in Columbia and the surrounding areas, Lever Repairs is your preferred independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Take advantage of tax credits and rebates of up to $2,400 for total unit replacements. Ready for an exciting new career with great pay? Join the Lever Repairs Incorporated family. Go to lever-repairs-inc.com/careers. Join a family-friendly business. With decades of experience and excellent employee benefits, Lever Repairs is your #1 choice. Call today, 803-333-0737.
Start your spring cleaning early with Zerust Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. For this month only, mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $119 plus a free staircase. Book online at ZerustColumbia.com.
The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, Wes, and Chris with you on your Thursday here on the game. Again, myself, Terry Ford, going to be out Shirts Towing Roadshow at Griffin Pools and Spas, 1348 North Lake Drive in Lexington. Coming up top of the hour, going up until 3 o'clock. Going to have some tickets to give away, by the way, for South Carolina and Clemson baseball. So come by and grab some of those. I don't know if you have to jump in the pool again like we did last year. TBA on the if you have to do that or not. But you do have some tickets to give away if you come by and see us at Griffin Pools and Spas out in Lexington, out by the lake from noon until 3 coming up today. Do you have something to add, Wes? Looked like you did. Would you jump in the pool for tickets?
For tickets to baseball?
Tickets to baseball.
I just asked Josh.
Yeah, well.
If I didn't have access to Josh.
If Josh told you to jump in the pool for them, would you do it?
I would not give Josh the pleasure.
I know that Griffin has, obviously they do a great job, options for heated pools. Would said pool be heated?
Yes, it's their indoor pool that you jump into.
Come on.
Well, that's easy.
What are we? What are we doing here?
But most people, we had a guy show up last year in his work uniform and jumped in. So, you do have the inconvenience of getting your clothes wet, I guess.
It's okay.
You'll be all right.
Would you get in the hot tub for tickets? Yes, I would.
So, again, I don't know if that's going to be the rule this year, but come by and see us get some of those tickets and hang out with us.
Tyler, you have the power. You should just go ahead and set it.
Well, I don't know if there's legal aspects of that or not. I don't want to get in trouble. But I will push for somebody to jump in the pool as much as I can while we're out there. How about that?
That works.
Andy Staples of On3 has put out a handy-dandy guide on whether you should pay your head football coach or head basketball coach more money. Of course, those are the two sports in college that generate the most revenue, and we talk about it all the time. College football coaches are making in the tens of millions of dollars now. College basketball coaches not that far behind, depending on what school you're at, and we see contracts get restructured. We see raises given left and right, but sometimes not always warranted. And thankfully, Andy Staples has given us the step-by-step guide with questions included on whether or not you should be doing it or not.
Chris, this one is yours. I'm going to let you go first.
Thank you. One reason I thought this was, number one, an interesting topic. Number two,
it's good thought exercise.
Laid out interestingly. Kind of funny how it's laid out, but also it does mention South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer in here
specifically at one point,
and Andy Staples' point was, hey, Shane Beamer got a new deal this offseason, as we know. And so Beamer has now gone from one of the lowest paid SEC coaches when he first got the job at South Carolina in 2020 to, he's not one of the highest paid, but he has worked his way up to getting, an over $8 million a year salary, which is, fantastic. And Andy noted South Carolina's historically not been an easy place to win. He went 9-4, won 9 games. But Andy kind of made the point of, hey, there were only a few jobs that opened. UNC, Purdue, UCF, Wake, West Virginia. And where he went was, do you need to give an extension? And he makes this point with several other schools. Obviously, that was one point of the whole exercise. Could you just call agents' bluffs? Do you need to give a coach an automatic extension just so he can say he has 4 years on his contract? Because otherwise you're just building up what you may have to pay in a potential buyout. To me, guys, I think it's a little bit of an oversimplification. I realize that you could say, well, is Shane Beamer really looking to leave? Is coach in another school really looking to leave? Do you really need to give out a bigger contract? I do agree that sometimes some of the extensions given out across the country, you look at it and you go, that's kind of weird, right? Like Brent Venables got one this offseason.
Yeah.
Kind of strange. Wes, we always talk about how the climate in college coaching now is you're either getting an extension or getting fired. I mean, you are not really going multiple years with your contract not being addressed in some ways. We've actually added a new one to that. Hey, we're going to change your contract that you have.
Yep.
So maybe there's starting to be a little bit of pushback here. I just think it's a little bit of what Andy's saying is a little bit of an oversimplification, because I think you're kind of doing it for several reasons. I mean, you do want to reward coaches who are doing a great job. Beamer's an outlier in some ways. This is his actual dream job.
Yeah.
Beamer's not at South Carolina so he can get the Alabama job, right? This is where he wants to be. And also, at some point in the future, I think Beamer and everybody around here hopes it's way in the future, you will at some point hire another head football coach. And you don't want coaches talk. They pay attention to these things. Agents talk. You don't want to say, they didn't take care of that coach. He had a lot of success, and they're just leaving his contract as is, or they're playing games.
I think it's also important to put some context behind this, because Andy Staples has 4 specific questions that you're asking in the process of determining whether you should pay your coach or not. The first one is, did your team just win a national championship? Second is another team trying to hire your coach? Third is, can and will the schools that might be in your market for a new coach pay more than you're already paying your coach? And the last one here is, and I'll scroll down here, is are you purely bidding against yourself? And Coach Beamer falls into that third category, and where he's referencing the contract extension and raise that he just got.
Yeah, and third category being, will the school that might be in a market for a new coach pay more than you already pay your coach?
Yep.
And, Andy's point was essentially the only power conference jobs. God, is this right? We're quickly in a new world in terms of schools not quickly firing coaches. The only power conference jobs that opened this offseason were North Carolina, Purdue, Central Florida, Wake Forest, and West Virginia. And his point being, none of those jobs are better than South Carolina. And none of them would pay Beamer more than $6.6 million he was already making. I think South Carolina's perspective, not to speak for them, but just based on the actions, is that, you want your guy to feel taken care of, and you want to, I don't want to say you're making business deals on good vibes, but you want for your people to feel like you've kind of supported them every step of the way, I think. And, I think for one, it just put Beamer much more along the side of market value when you look at his SEC peers. And two, Beamer has no designs of wanting to leave, but what if this thing just completely takes off and all of a sudden he is the biggest, one of the biggest young names in coaching, and I don't know, a Texas, a Bama, like we're just talking, who knows? Like, what if somebody comes in and just says, that's who I want to be my coach? And if you've nickeled and dimed along the way and somebody says, well, I'm dropping $15 million, I'm going to make you say no. Maybe a coach, if you've kind of been stingy the whole way, says, hey, this is my dream job, but look at that. How do I say no to that?
They don't appreciate me here.
Yeah, whereas, and I know we're getting into ifs and buts, but there are reasons that go beyond just the financial business side of things of why you would want to keep your coach along the lines of market value for what his peers are being paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if a guy, doesn't want to leave, don't give him a reason to want to leave. I do think a lot of schools do these extensions to preempt, hey, we kind of like this guy. We don't want somebody else to come along and poach him. And for South Carolina, you don't have to think about that quite as much because, again, Beamer has found the place that I sincerely believe he wants to be. Like, he would coach here, I think, for as long as they'll have him here, assuming something doesn't happen like nickel and diming him on a contract or something, right? Or something else going wrong.
Sure.
So you don't want to give them – so their perspective – that's a good word, Wes. The perspective of South Carolina is a little bit different. So I understand actually why Andy used Beamer as an example, because he did get a significant raise and extension. there weren't a lot of Power 4 jobs that opened. I mean, Bill Belichick got $10 million, but that's Bill Belichick. He's got, 6 rings? A little different. Beamer is also a little different of a situation than some of the other coaches that were referenced in that story.
Speaking of coaching contracts, we'll get into this on the other side, kind of looping back around to what we talked about with the revenue sharing numbers being put out there for what Georgia's going to do when it comes to the revenue splits. Kenny Dillingham has something specific in his contract at Arizona State that is a guarantee to make sure that he's on the even playing field with the others in college football to make sure that he can have Arizona State as competitive as possible. And I imagine that's something we're going to see a lot more going forward when it comes to restructuring contracts and signing new extensions. We'll dive into that coming up next. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris along with you on your Thursday here in the game.
107.5 The Game in Columbia, 100.5 The Game in Florence, and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. The Game Network.
The Game Roadshow, sponsored by Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
The Halftime Show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head will be live at Griffin Pools and Spas, Thursday, noon to 3.
On the Game Network and on 107.5, the Game app.
All right, guys, you know it. This show brought to you by our friends at Firehouse Subs. Shout out to our guy, Larry, and all the great folks at Firehouse Subs. 15 convenient locations and growing throughout the Midlands. So no matter where you are right now, there's a Firehouse Subs more than likely near you. And get that lunch very simply, very officially with the Rapid Rescue to Go. You can do that online by just going to firehousesubs.com and clicking pick up order, or maybe even easier, use the Firehouse Subs app. That's what we do. Create an account. Every single time you order, you're going to get points. You can then turn those points in at a later date for free food. We all love that. And we all love what they have to offer at Firehouse Subs. There is a favorite for everyone, whether it's the new French dip with premium cut roast beef and au jus on the side, or some of the classics like the hook and ladder, or create your own. My favorite, brisket, add bacon. Whatever it is you love, they got something for you at Firehouse Subs.
The 2025 SEC Women's Basketball Tournament returns to Greenville, South Carolina, as Bon Secours Wellness Arena hosts the annual celebration of SEC Women's Hoops, March 5th through 9th. Join us and experience Greenville as you create memories and we crown a champion. Tickets are on sale now. Head to SECSports.com for more information. That's March 5th through the 9th in Greenville. SEC Women's Basketball. It just means more.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Clark. Garnet Trust is hoping to build the best and most sustainable NIL program in the country. To find out how you can get involved, go on over to garnettrust.com. You can support Gamecock athletes there, get access to exclusive content, and help Garnet Trust build the best NIL program in the country.
What's up, Gamecocks? Ben Cato, third generation owner of Cato's Power Equipment. If you own a lawnmower, one of two things is probably true. Either you've been putting it through the ringer, mulching up leaves and pine straw all winter, or you haven't touched it in quite some time. Either way, Cato's can get it tuned up, repaired, and ready to work. Weeds are peeking their heads out of the ground, and warm temps mean grass is about to grow. Don't wait until our shop is full. Visit Cato's today and get your lawnmower and grass cutting tools ready to keep you cutting.
When you're overwhelmed with tax debt, deciding what to do next is a true win or lose decision. You can lose your car, your paycheck, even your retirement savings. Or you can choose someone to help you win this battle with the IRS. Now is the time to tackle your tax debt, but you don't have to do it alone. Meet Priority Tax Relief, veteran-owned and the expert in tax debt resolution. Our priority is fighting for you. Our team has helped clients save millions and can reduce or even erase your tax debt. Call 800-961-3387 right now to talk to our winning team. Priority Tax Relief has a direct line to the IRS. That's right, a fast track to find out if you qualify for life-changing tax relief in just minutes. Priority Tax Relief fights to protect your money, has 5-star reviews on Google, and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Why wait? Call Priority Tax Relief for your free tax consultation. Call 800-961-3387. That's 800-961-3387. Let's make your taxes our priority. Stop your tax debt now. Call 800-961-3387.
At Atkins Law, we believe who you hire matters, but don't take our word for it. Hear it from our clients.
From the front desk to the paralegals answering my questions to the one I have in my back, I couldn't ask for a better team of professionals.
From my first phone call to meeting Joe in person, I knew I was going to be in good hands.
Holly has a great practice, and her various experiences brings tons of knowledge to each of her clients.
Remember, who you hire matters.
Call Atkins Law, 803-251-6406. Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. Check out the Season of Love at South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 in Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet on the Game Network and the 107.5 The Game app.
And welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Chris along with you here on your Thursday on the Game. Last segment there, we talked about Andy Staples' handy-dandy guide to if you should be paying your head football or head basketball coach more money in today's climate of college sports. And it brought up something going back to what Chris and I were talking about in the 10 o'clock hour on the Gamecock Club Hour. Wes, I'm sure you've seen the new or the revenue share projections for Georgia, who is, as expected, going to be paying up to that $20.5 million, including the cost of scholarships, and distributing that money throughout its sports. Football's going to get about $13.5 million. Men's basketball getting about $2.7 and on down from there. And again, Georgia's not a school that we're surprised to see going to be able to pay up to that amount. And the Alabamas and Ohio States and Texas should fall right in line behind that. But there's a lot of schools around the country that are questionable on if they're going to be able to do that on a consistent basis. And since we're speaking about coaching contracts, Arizona State, who of course just went to the college ball playoff, made the quarterfinals and down near one in overtime against Texas with Kenny Dillingham in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, signed him, funny enough, to a new contract the day before on December 31st, 2024. And as a part of that contract, there's a clause in there that guarantees that Arizona State will be a full participant revenue share, making sure that Kenny Dillingham has the full allotment of money through that $20.5 million to be able to spend and have the best talent that he could possibly have, in addition to NIL, which, of course, we know is always going to be a secondary factor in there to make sure that they can be competitive. And, again, this is a new thing, but I imagine this can be something prevalent across all coaching contracts in the years to come.
Yeah, in sports, as we talk about all the time, lots of copycats. One thing becomes a thing. Everybody says, hey, that's kind of a good idea, or they say it's a terrible idea, and then they kind of go from there. That's one. If you're, I think there's two sides to this. If you're a coach, you certainly want that to be in there, like in writing and solidified. We've seen the other side. We've seen coaches give up some money and for it to be earmarked towards NIL. So we've kind of seen some creativity when it comes to contracts based on, frankly, who has the leverage in the situation based on what's going on the field. And we're seeing, teams are going to be quick to maybe give contracts, but also they're very quick to say, hey, we're not going to fire you if you're willing to give a little bit in this contract. So I think the contracts actually seem more negotiable than ever. There seems to be more and more little details that can add up that are being twisted around. And it's probably not the end of creative little, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer like Chris. What are these calls called?
Please don't get me in trouble with the South Carolina Bar Association. I'm not.
I put lawyer in quotes.
You're going to get disbarred if you say it wrong.
Well, I'm not barred, so I can't. But I do. I do not want to be.
What do you
accused.
got to lose?
Yeah, that's right. I don't want to be accused.
Chris was a poli-sci major, and
I know
worked at a law firm.
Somehow he ended up here doing this and writing about football every single day.
Yeah. But better overall. What was your question? I completely threw you.
I was trying to think of a more specific word than just a detail in a contract, like the
provisions.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Okay.
Lawyer word.
Yeah, the lawyer word.
Chris Pascal
yeah, get our guy Pascal in here.
Clauses.
Yeah,
all the legal words. Yeah, I mean, I think, look, coaches want to know that their school is going to do what it takes to support them. And so we've seen some of these little things. Hey, you're going to go up to the revenue share, right? Okay, I figure, you figure a school like Arizona State, Power 4 school, they're probably going to do it.
Probably, but not 1,000% sure.
Not 1,000%. So you want to make sure, some coaches, I think, will increasingly see, hey, I want to make sure that we're going to have X amount for my football program to work with, whether that's in, a certain percentage of revenue share, whether it's, hey, I would like $15 million. I don't care how you get there. It can be revenue share. It can be revenue share plus collective. I need this in order to be able to fund my football program, because you don't want to take a job and then, maybe a new AD comes in, or your current AD changes his mind, the president of the school changes his mind or her mind, and then you end up having way less than you anticipated. Then it becomes tougher to do your job, because in college sports now, frankly, you need funding, for your roster. It used to be coaches would have to pound the table for, build me a new football operations building. We need a new practice field, whatever it may be. Now, their main consideration is, what are you going to give me for my roster?
I think at least I missed this part completely. If the settlement goes through, so Tyler was referencing this earlier, Georgia's rev share breakdown, which came out yesterday. I believe an article on onlineathens.com is where I saw it, but Ross Dellinger was retweeting it. And so Georgia, their distribution will sort of mirror what the back pay distribution percentages are. But I completely missed this aspect of it. Per the settlement, a school's pool cap, so revenue share cap, is reduced by new scholarships that school adds up to $2.5 million.
Yep.
So in the case of Georgia, they're actually not paying out the full 20.5. They're paying out of an $18 million pool, 75% to football, which is 13.5 mil. So Georgia added 100 new scholarships, but cut 75 roster spots. Can you explain to the people like they're five what exactly that means?
So just generally,
this is adding new scholarships throughout your athletic
throughout
department?
the entire athletic department. Yep. So 100 new that you're splitting up, and I don't think it's been said. Okay.
I know baseball is getting more.
Yeah, baseball is getting more. We know that. I can't remember the number, but they're getting more. They haven't broken out. Okay, baseball is getting 10 more scholarships. Women's soccer is getting 5. Hasn't said.
Georgia has not said.
Because we know, and you and I talked to Beamer about this and kind of got a double confirmation. The SEC for football is saying your roster's at 105, but we're going to keep the scholarship count at 85. Hey, Big Ten, ACC, if y'all want to do something different, fine. In the SEC, we are keeping a walk-on program. We're going to have 20 walk-ons. We're going to have 85 scholarships.
Right now, you can have, is it 120, 125 you can have up to currently?
Yes. There's a kind of a shifting roster limit. You can have a certain number, but then, and it's lower, and then when you open fall camp, you can add more players, and so you end up having more before the season. So back to your question, Wes, they're not adding scholarships in football. The 100 that Georgia is deciding to add is across other sports. So I would assume.
So whatever the value of those scholarships are, up to 2.5 comes off your revenue share?
Yes.
Forever or this year?
That's a good question. I don't know, because that was actually
going to be year by year, right? Because all this money.
But they're not new scholarships. I'm saying if it says new scholarships next year, those won't be new scholarships. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So is it? Are you? Why is this arbitrary?
Are you always funding the scholarships that you've added out of the revenue share? I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Now the cap will adjust year to year based kind of on inflation.
Yep.
Well, I don't know if they're really saying this because of inflation, but you know what I mean. Like they're adjusting the cap each year.
You get a raise.
It's going up
based on inflation.
Scholarship values will also go up. NIL values, we know will go up.
Every couple of years, this number is going to change, and it's not going to go down more likely than not. So, yeah, right now it's $20.5 million, including the cost of scholarships. And, again, as we kind of talked about in the last hour, the model of what Georgia is doing here probably going to be consistent across the board for most schools that can pay up to that amount in the $20.5 million.
And, by the way, baseball, at least in terms of what is allowed by the NCAA, going from 11.7 to 34.
34, yeah.
So that's a
significant
huge jump for baseball.
That's 20% right there of the 100 scholarships.
But needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
For baseball.
Baseball has been operating on that half scholarship thing, and it's been really weird for a long time. And, yeah, well needed for baseball for sure.
Yeah, baseball has needed changes. Baseball didn't need all this to happen, in my opinion, for them to go. I mean, the fact that you were dealing with 11.7 scholarships when you have, just in terms of your starters, like your starting 9 and then your pitchers, like you couldn't even put your main guys all on full scholarship. You know what I'm saying? Like that's,
it wasn't just a handful of years ago that the third paid assistant. So baseball's been slowly coming along, but it's definitely going to help them out quite a bit. And the most schools now are hiring general managers to manage all these things for specific sports. And the news broke kind of at the end of the hour yesterday of Jim Nagy going to Oklahoma, which I want to examine a little bit more. Coming up next is wrap up today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Thursday here on The Game.
107.5 The Game in Columbia, 100.5 The Game in Florence, and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. The Game Network.
Listen to Gamecocks baseball on The Game. And if a Gamecocks batter hits a grand slam, you could win cash. You could win cash. You could win cash. You could win cash in the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. Go to 1075thegame.com and register. Brought to you by Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and The Game.
This is Maggie Gray with a Sports Minute sponsored by TaxSlayer. Start filing for free today at TaxSlayer.com. One of the most interesting storylines of the NFL offseason just got a whole lot juicier. Matthew Stafford, who's been given permission by the Rams to seek a trade, just happened to run into Tom Brady in Montana. It's well known Brady has a home in Big Sky Country, and I doubt Stafford, who's looking for a massive payday, is getting on a pair of skis anytime soon. Feels like too much of a coincidence. I'm Maggie Gray.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refunds belong to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male.
Alan Kennington, responsible for this ad. Office in 1440 Broad River Road, Columbia, South Carolina.
You know the jingle. If you're hurt in the car or at work, you need to call George Sink now. Even nights and weekends. George Sink's attorneys will fight for your rights and make sure you get the compensation you deserve so you can focus on getting back on your feet. Call all nines now and get George Sink injury lawyers working for you.
Get George Sink Law Firm on the line. Call 999-9999.
As of 9 a.m. this morning, our EV trucking company is officially in operation.
Andrew's zero-emission trucks are driving the transportation category forward.
We'll make driving safer, easier, and less stressful.
Now our technology needs to keep up with demand.
He needs to put pedal to the metal on hiring more software engineers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Some people just know they can save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first at 888-ALLSTATE or allstate.com. Like you know to check you have gas first before road tripping through the desert.
Empty? Seriously? Maybe I can walk.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So if you want to save money, check Allstate first at 888-ALLSTATE or allstate.com.
Maybe I can't.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
It's time to prepare for summer, and your HVAC system is on the fritz. The last thing you need is an unexpected repair bill, and AAA Heating and Air has got your back. They're offering up to 12-month payment plans on repairs with no credit check. That's right, no need to worry about your credit score. As long as you're a homeowner with a valid bank account, you're good to go. So do what I did and call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app.
And welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris along with you on your Thursday. I finally got it, Chris. We have Wes's songs.
Oh, that's what you were working on over there.
Yes, he emphatically came in and handed me this piece of paper and said, there you go.
I threw it at him.
Threw it at me.
Just like Jordan Schultz allegedly threw words at Ian Rappaport.
Allegedly.
I said allegedly.
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 Important to remember there.
I said it.
I will effort to get these songs in our rotation as we have revamped our music here from 9 to noon, which was very much overdue.
Make sure you get the radio edit version.
Yeah, I always do. I always listen to the song first. If I'm not familiar with it, make sure we're not airing anything we shouldn't, because we do have to, adhere to the FCC, and I don't want to pay those fines. Real quick, before we talk about Jim Nagy, Josh is going to slash my tires if I don't give away these basketball tickets. Next week, Tuesday against Georgia, 6 o'clock tip over at Colonial Life Arena, 2 family 4-packs right now. Callers number 3 and 4, 803-404-6100. While I go handle that, again, this news broke yesterday. Right as the show is ending, Wes talked about it. Jim Nagy, the former executive director of the Reese Senior Bowl, being hired by Oklahoma to be the general manager of their football program. And what is, a critical time, to say the least, for Brent Venables, as he's had 2 rough years in the past 3 seasons out there at Oklahoma, and definitely needs to turn things around, hoping Jim Nagy can be the guy to help him do that.
I think, first of all, I do like the hire. Like, I'm not saying I don't. I think this is, in some ways, the direction schools are heading right now. And as we get more and more NFL-like in college, this is a natural progression. And, Chris, there's, you and I cover this stuff on a daily basis, man. There's so much that goes into what, remember when it used to be you had a recruiting coordinator?
Yeah.
Beamer was one.
He was.
On your staff, and you were asking a on-field guy to handle this, and then you had, director of high school relations and stuff like that. That was an off-the-field job. But slowly that recruiting coordinator title just vanished because it went more to director of player personnel. And so those sort of job responsibilities were moved off the field to where your assistant coaches weren't having to deal with that as much. But now, man, when you look at the just the responsibilities that go into that position, and you look at the fact that it is one of the things mentioned on Jim Nagy's job sort of posting here when he got the job is managing compensation for players. And the fact that at this point, you're talking about asking these guys to be recruiters. That's still part of it. Evaluators. Contract negotiators. Do we put that? I mean, let's be honest.
It seems like he's going to head that up.
Front office type. Can you manage a roster from a standpoint of this position should be taking up X amount of your budget and moving guys around? I mean, it's just the roles for that position have shifted so much. So a lot of schools are kind of splitting it or sharing the duties, or there's multiple ways I think you could set it up, but very interesting that they went in the direction of a guy who has so much experience with the Senior Bowl of just evaluating talent and who knows that landscape. And, you know, I'll be curious to see, man, his value, I would say, experience is going to be in obviously kind of networking and using that in terms of, hey, which guys are y'all watching? You know, talking to NFL scouts. Who do you love that's coming up, maybe that's in the portal? I can't imagine Nagy has done much high school evaluating.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that does make it, dude? It's it's different evaluating a 17-year-old kid for college football versus evaluating a grown man, either to go to the NFL level or in the transfer portal. Yeah. So I do like the hire a lot, but I think it still has to come with maybe some guys that have a little more experience in this high school world. What he does at Senior Bowl, it's not the same as recruiting high school kids and their parents either.
Sure. Yeah. You're not, I mean, getting a Senior Bowl invite, you know, I don't want to say it's a no-brainer, you know, but like if you get invited to the Senior Bowl, you're probably going, you know. And so there's a lot of other elements. But I do think, I mean, this, in addition to being with the Senior Bowl, he was in NFL front offices for 18 years, you know. So these positions are becoming so important, whether it's called a general manager or whatever it's called. I mean, UNC's paying Michael Lombardi $1.5 million a year to do a role similar to this.
Yeah, and so he also comes from the NFL ranks as well.
He comes from the NFL. And so the reason that some people are going that NFL model is because they're saying, okay, these guys are getting paid. We're having problems figuring out how to value them. So somebody who's been in those rooms can not only help us evaluate, but also value the players. And that is important, but because college and pro are still have some key differences, you'd also have to marry that college model a little bit. It can't only be a business, and so that remains a challenge.
Again, very critical time out there for Brent Venables to see if Jim Nagy can help him get things back on track there in Norman, Oklahoma. That'll do it for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Coming up next, halftime show. Myself, Terry Ford from Griffin Pools and Spas on North Lake Drive in Lexington. Going up until 3 here on the game.
.1075 The Game, broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevy Studios. You can save up to $20,000 on new Silverados. Stop by or shop online today and see how Herndon Chevy makes you smile. Together, let's drive. Sports Trophies is here to meet all of your award and recognition needs. Don't let the name fool you. They are much more than just sports awards. They can provide you with everything from trophies, plaques, crystal awards, acrylic awards, name badges, and that's just for starters. They provide awards and recognition for schools, universities, churches, associations, corporations, small business, and of course, anything sports related. Call 803-798-8686 or email to sportstrophies@gmail.com. And go Gamecocks!
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing, and for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com.